Wemby is looking like the best player in the world right now, and no one is going to want to face this Spurs team. After that massive Game 4 comeback, this one was always going to be over in 5. The Spurs started the game on a tear and never trailed in this one, which was what I said I wanted to see from them. It did get a bit ugly in the fourth quarter, but De'Aaron Fox was able to provide that veteran presence, steady the ship, and they still ended up with a dominant 19-point win. The Blazers' offense simply could not get going all night. They tried to shoot the Spurs out of the gym with very little success, only made 11 threes on 47 attempts, which did end whatever slim chance they had of another upset win. San Antonio has looked like a much more poised playoff team in the 2 games with Wemby back from his concussion. He's been having himself a block party over those 2 games, and Fox and Castle have been thriving offensively, with Dylan Harper and Julian Champagnie joining in tonight as well. On the whole, this was a very promising showing for Portland and a great season overall. Making their way back to the playoffs in a stacked Western Conference and taking a game off the Spurs is no small feat, especially with everything that went down with Chauncey Billups at the beginning of the season. They simply weren't going to stand a chance in this series. It is impressive nonetheless. They were even able to extend this one to 5. If Wemby's able to continue the level of defensive play he's had these last 2 games and really all season long, I do think that the Spurs are going to find themselves making a run to the finals. Offensively, he hasn't had to carry the load as much throughout this first series. I do think that's honestly a good thing for him. It does make it tougher on their future opponents to game plan for Wemby when they haven't seen his full playoff repertoire on the offensive end. I do think it's better for him to just focus on defense right now. He is generational in that regard, and they have enough other offensive weapons that I do think that the Spurs are in a very good position, even without Wemby really finding his stride offensively through the playoffs so far. He really hasn't had to. If he's able to just be efficient with the shots he's putting up a night, they don't need him taking 20 shots. He can put up his 10, 15, end up with 20 points, and they will be in a great position no matter who their opponent is. Another key part of San Antonio's offensive game plan is the ability of most of the guys on their bench to come into the game and provide some instant offense. It is interesting comparing them to the Thunder in that OKC usually has 3-point shooters coming off the bench while the starters are doing most of their damage in the paint. For San Antonio, it is kind of the opposite. Most of their competent 3-point shooters are in the starting lineup. We do obviously see guys like Keldon Johnson and, as of recently, Dylan Harper, who can absolutely shoot it from deep. But they also have a lot of guys coming off the bench that are able to slash their way to the rim. They're all lob threats, even though they don't have any massive guys coming off the bench aside from Cornette. So it is interesting comparing and contrasting the 2 contenders in the West in that way. I do hope that we ultimately see them match up in the Western Conference Finals. I think that is the most interesting matchup possible. Looking ahead to the Spurs round 2 matchup, they haven't looked as invincible against the Nuggets as they have against every other team in the league this season. It does remain to be seen if the Nuggets can pull off the 3-1 comeback. But if they can, they are still a very scary matchup for San Antonio. Jokic is the only big in the league that can outplay Wemby, and even though his play along with the rest of the Nuggets has been inconsistent in the postseason thus far, if they do make it to round 2, evidently they'll have found some level of consistency, although they will also be coming off a 7-game series while the Spurs will be well rested, so it would be a very tough matchup either way. If it is the Wolves that San Antonio ends up facing, I don't anticipate the Spurs having any issues dispatching them, likely in 4, as no Ant-Man makes whatever shot Minnesota may have had in a full-strength series. Likely nothing more than a pipe dream. They should absolutely be pulling for a Wolves win tonight in order to all but solidify their path to the conference finals. But I do think that they stand a very good chance of making it there, no matter who their opponent ends up being.
They're going to have to inbound the ball here.